Hello, welcome back to Make with Care. My name is Care. I'm a maker, primarily a knitter, based out of southern New Jersey near Philadelphia. And this is my channel where I talk about all things I'm currently making. Today, I've got an exciting standard podcast format video for y'all. And it is a summery sort of edition. It's kind of like the end of my spring knits and jumping into summer. So without further ado, let's get started. First of all, we have a special guest in today's video. This is Dallas. He gets upset when my partner is not home. Not too upset, but occasionally he'll cry. So he's gonna hang out there for a little bit. But yeah, let's start with finished objects. The first one I've got is my Flock Fest. This is a pattern by Andrea Mowry. It is a worsted weight vest pattern. And here is mine. I've worn this quite a bit since I've blocked it. So forgive me if it is looking a little wrinkly, but I've got some pictures and stuff of me wearing it. But this was a super quick knit. I think this took me about 2 weeks to make. And I knit this with my leftovers. Very proud of myself. My leftovers from my loon sweater. So this is knit up in Dererum, Natura, Gilliatt in 3 different colors. And yeah, this is what it looks like buttoned up. So it's got these fun wooden flower buttons that I got at Vogue Knitting Live from like the vintage button. There's like a stall there booth that's just got like a ton of buttons. And that's where I got these buttons from, and I thought that they were a good match. I like the wood with the kind of like nature inspired colors of the vest. Yeah, so these are the yarns that I used, and I had 2 skeins left over of my main color, which this used less than 2 skeins of that. I think I made a size small. My gauge is slightly bigger than Andrea Mowry's in this pattern. And then my contrast colors are left over from the loon as well. I did this as like the background for the loon. I'll put a picture. And this is like the loons, and I still have leftovers. So if you're gonna make like a size, at least like a size small, medium in both, you definitely only need 1 skein of the Gilliatt for that. Because I still have a lot left, so I'm guessing like even a larger size, even larger sizes would work. Yeah, and this is my favorite like worsted weight yarn that I've yet worked with. It's a woolen spun, and it's just so squishy. Like, I don't know if y'all can see, but it's just so squishy and it feels fantastic. This vest is warm, but not like overly so, but even knit up, it's like squishy. I think it makes the Italian bind offs look pretty nice too. Like, I didn't do the double knit setup rows, but yeah, this vest is worked top down, starting with the back. I really like the shoulder details on the vest here. I think that looks cool. And then you pick up for the fronts, and then it's a very deep V. But I do find that like with a bralette kind of situation, it'll show a little bit when I wear this without anything underneath it. Sorry that it's so hairy. I have like worn this a lot, and my hair and all of the animals' hair tends to get in everything. But yeah, this was very quick. I did knit the cropped version, which I tend to do. I knit, I think, everything else to pattern except for not doing, I actually don't remember if she calls for the double knit setup rows or not. I think she does, but I don't generally like doing them. I think that, let me see if I can show you. I think that it looks fairly neat without it. I'm happy with how it looks and how it acts without the setup. And frankly, like, I just didn't want to do it. I think in the heavier yarns, maybe I've just done it poorly in the past, but I find that sometimes it looks a little bulky, and I like how it looks without it. So I really like this vest. I like how it fits. I like how it came out. I liked knitting it. It's very fun to knit with the stripes. So there's 3. So I was like thinking ahead of time, like, do I have to cut the yarn every time? Like, what's going on? But she has you basically on either, depending on like which iteration it is, on either the middle or the second colored stripe, like slide your work, because it is all knit flat, so there's really no reason not to. That way you don't have to break the yarn, so you can carry the yarn. So like, for example, if your first, in my case, blue stripe is like knit, then the next one is going to be purl, and then your blue yarn is still over on that purl side, so you just slide it and purl again. So basically every time you're either knitting twice in a row or purling twice in a row to make it work. But you can see that I just carried my yarn. Ignore this end that I didn't completely weave in. I did weave it in, but I didn't like trim it completely. But yeah, I carried my yarn down, and I don't think you like notice it at all when I'm wearing it. Yeah, I'm trying to think what else there is to say about this. I cannot emphasize how much I love this yarn. And I think these colors together look really nice. I'm pretty happy with my tension. I've been conscious to try not to row out, because I notice sometimes if I'm not on like not this yarn usually, but on like other yarns that's like a more plant-based yarn, if I'm not paying attention and not like cognitively trying to at least just not purl super loose, sometimes it can have a little bit of rowing out. So I've just been trying to pay attention to that in my knits, not like pulling really tight, just making sure that I'm tensioning correctly and not like staring off into space while purling. And I think that this is a very forgiving yarn, so probably not the best example, but I am happy with how my tension looks, I think, throughout. There are spots where like my tension's a little bit uneven because I was just having a good time vibing while making it. But overall, I'm very happy with how this came out. I will be bringing this to Flock Fiber Festival in August in Seattle to wear. And yeah, if you're thinking about knitting this and you have like this, I think this is a great stash yarn project. If you've got like leftover worsted, the stripes really don't take very much at all, especially if you make the cropped. I also like how those stripes continue into the ribbing. I think that looks good. One thing to note about ribbing that I've been doing recently is I've been doing combination knitting for ribbing. So even while knitting flat, I don't know if this is the best way, but first of all, let me show you how my ribbing looks. It's definitely not perfect, and I don't even know if it's like better than it would be if I wasn't doing the combination. Here's the button band, which I also did it on. I don't know if that's focusing correctly, but I wrap the purl the opposite direction to try and tighten it. And I do feel like overall, I think my ribbing is neater. Before I was pretty unhappy with how my ribbing looked a lot of the time. And now I'm much happier with it in general. It's not perfect, I think. But I mean, there are spots where, you know, it's wonkier than others, but overall I think it looks pretty decent. I do like doing the combination. I don't mind. Basically on the other, if you're knitting combination in the round, you then purl through the back loop, wrap the wrong way, like the second round. But when you're doing it flat, you knit through the back loop like regularly, I think. That's the part I'm not sure about. That's what I was doing. It seemed to work fine. It doesn't twist anything. It looks pretty good. So that's how I've been doing my ribbing. I know like the inside out trick, I've done that before as well, but I have found that doing the combination tends to work pretty well for me right now. So that's kind of what I'm currently doing for my ribbing, and I did on this vest. So yeah, that is the Flock Vest by Andrea Mowry. I realize I've committed a sin and not told you what I'm wearing, though I have talked about it many times before, and so many people have knit this, but this is the Mixed Strip Cami by Florence Miller. I knit this last year knitting for Olive Cotton Merino in the shade Red Currant. This is kind of a looser fit on me now. So I usually have to wear something underneath it now, which is a shame because this is like my favorite summer knit I've ever made. And today is really, really warm. I think it's over 90 degrees Fahrenheit here. That's 30 something Celsius. So really, really warm, and it's warm inside my house. So I didn't feel like wearing anything with sleeves. So I am wearing this, which I love. I think I might make another one or another boat neck tank top in a fingering weight. It's just the easiest, I think, to wear on these hot days if I really want to wear a knit. So yeah, I've talked about this a million times before, but really recommend this pattern. I think it looks good on so many people. Direction's good. Not a groundbreaking pattern by any means, but that is what I'm wearing. Okay, finished object number 2. I don't have as positive feelings about. This has been on my needles for a while. I started this back in March. I bought the yarn in Bath in the UK. I was there for like a birthday trip, and I went to the wool shop. I went to a couple of shops there, but the wool shop in Bath. Lovely shop, lovely people. I love Bath. It's so beautiful there. And I bought this Fyberspates Cumulus yarn in the shade Glow. And then immediately, without gauge swatching, I was just like, YOLO, I'm going to cast on the Ivy blouse. So that is what this pattern is, sort of. I am off gauge. I haven't even measured my gauge, but I know I'm off gauge. This is how it came out. I do think it's cute. I didn't really do any modifications except for my gauge is bigger than the patterns. So I stopped the raglan increases sooner, and I didn't knit long sleeves. Gosh, I'm warm. Sorry. So this being on me, this is an alpaca silk, I believe. So yeah, for the sleeves, after the split, I basically repicked up and then knit like a couple rounds and just bound off for that. I just bound off at the bottom hem, and this is a little bit see-through to wear, so I kind of wear it over just a tank top. It's not super see-through, but you can see through it. This is a like contiguous set-in shoulder, I think is what it's called, and then it does like the raglan increases. There's a bunch of Ivy patterns by Petiteknit, and this is one of them. It calls for 2 strands of mohair to be knit. So immediately, I was doing stuff weird. Basically because my gauge is bigger, the neck is a little bit bigger, which I am a fan of. And this is like a loose kind of flowy garment. But I do think since this is just a bright color, it's cute to wear like underneath overalls or like with a pair of just jean shorts. It's kind of like a crazy bright pop of color. And since it is a little bit sheer, it looks cute over like tank tops and stuff. Definitely not the piece I'm going to get the most wear out of, but I really enjoyed the knitting. It was just lots of knitting in the round. This yarn is so soft. I definitely think that if you like Surrey alpaca yarns, that this is one to check out. It wasn't too expensive, and I think it looks nice. It's definitely like a little bit thicker than a mohair, but it's not like too thick. I did knit this up on 3.5mm needles, and I think when I tend to get going in the round on metal needles, like just chilling, my tension can be a little loose. So that's all I really have to say about this one. I would make this pattern again properly, but I don't know how much I would wear a mohair garment. I do find mohair a little bit itchy at times, so that's why I made it out of the alpaca, which I really like. I think I'll wear this again more at the end of summer, or just on evenings maybe when it's not so hot. Maybe. He's so cute. Such a good boy. Yeah, so that is my Ivy blouse by Petiteknit in the Fyberspates Cumulus. All right, my last finished object is a pair of socks. Now, I've worn these like a lot since I finished them, and they're looking scruffy. Okay, so I'm gonna put some pictures. Let's just pretend like that's what they still look like. They look like pictures that I'll put somewhere. Okay, these are Afterthought heel socks that I made from Summerlee's book. The first sock book. It's in the other room. I can't remember the name. I'll put a picture. Yeah, so this is just her basic Afterthought heel, and then I did a 3x1 rib, except for on the cuffs, I did a 2x2. So I don't know, I just felt like doing 2x2, and then I was like, I think a 3x1 would be nice because that seems fun. And then I did this yarn is from Sunset Fiber Co. It's a superwash. I think it's got a little bit of cashmere and nylon blend, and it is so soft. And when I saw these colors, I was like, these are the perfect Phillies colors. So yeah, I love the Phillies, and this is my favorite uniform colors of theirs. So I made these socks, and I'm really happy with how they came out. I did a few modifications for these. So I really like knitting the Afterthought heel, but sometimes it pulls really badly across the top of the foot. And then other issues I've had with socks in the past, I haven't made too many socks. I think this is only my 4th pair. And then this is only like my 3rd pair of fingering weight socks. So I did a lot of things differently this time. I went down in needle size, I believe to 2mm needles. I knit these at the same time on 2 separate circulars using magic loop. I am really not in general. I do use the mini circulars for sleeves. Sometimes I've tried them for socks, like stuff like that. But for some reason, I get really bad hand pain with them. And I think it's just, I don't hold it right or something. I'm a big magic loop fan. So I did knit these on magic loop, and I did, like I said, go down significantly in the size. I think in general, my tension tends to be a little bit loose, and all the other socks I've knitted so far have turned out too big. So these, I really picked the 64 stitches on the 2mm needles, and I hoped for the best. And these, with the ribbing, they fit really good. So I'm very happy with how these came out. Really proud of myself for making 2 nice socks. This is, you can see where I did, I think right here is like one of the starts of the round. And you can see it's like a little bit of dog there, and that's where I did the magic loop. But I think the other one is like right here maybe. But I really don't think that I think my magic loop is pretty good. Like looking at these, the only way I can really tell, I haven't even blocked these yet, but like if you look down here in the middle, there should be a line somewhere, and I really don't even see one. So I do think that magic loop for me is pretty good. And I think with the very small needles, I can finally get like a correct sock gauge. So that's the first thing I changed. The second thing I changed is, well, I got a little impatient. I didn't knit this quite as long as I maybe would have wanted, but I actually really like how they fit. I think they're super cute, so that's fine. But the other major thing I did is I knit the toe exactly to pattern, but the heel, I wanted it to fit better across the foot. So I looked like up how to make Afterthought heel socks fit better. And I saw people do a few different things. Some people said to knit more rounds of stockinette before doing the decreases, just to give sorry, one of my like things that really bothers me is like dog licking sounds. I don't know if anybody else experiences the same thing. No licking. Okay, so talking about the modifications, the modifications I did for the heel. So I looked up how to make Afterthought heels fit better. And one of the things I found was that you can pick up extra stitches, so like more than half. So I picked up one extra on each side. So that's going to be one total more decrease. And then I did one extra round of stockinette. So I figured that would give me a little bit more length, but I didn't want it to be like too crazy. And then I also saw that to make the heel a little bit more rounded towards the end, that you could do a more rapid rate of decrease. So I did an extra stockinette in the beginning, and then you probably can't even tell looking at it, but the last 3 decreases, instead of doing like a row of plain stockinette in between, I just decrease, decrease, decrease. So yeah, with the extra decreases and picking up the extra stitches, I do think that it's like a little bit bigger. And I think it fits me really, really well, which makes me happy because I love doing the Afterthought heel. I don't enjoy knitting the heel flap and gusset. I think it works pretty well for my feet, but the knitting process of it I really don't enjoy. I kind of just enjoy straight up, you know, knitting in the round, doing the toe, and then the heel to finish it off, because at that point, like, you're so close to being done with the sock that I'm like really excited to knit the heel. Whereas when I knit the heel flap and gusset, I'm kind of like, ugh, the heel. So for knitting experience wise, I think the Afterthought heel is like peak, and then it makes it really easy to do the contrast color. Also, I find cutting the knitting a little bit fun, which makes me think I would enjoy steeking. But yeah, that is these socks, which I'm really quite happy with. And I think that yarn is just so pretty. They're definitely not perfect, but I think that these are my best socks I've made so far. So new kind of formula, I think, unlocked for socks. Okay, whip time. I have one whip that I'm currently monogamously knitting on. I have another whip that's kind of hibernating-ish that I'm gonna pull out of hibernation. I'll talk about that more maybe next time when I've actually worked on it. It was from last year. It's a little tank top 3mm project. But this one, I started last week and I haven't put it down. I just finished a sleeve today. This is the Sevilla Blouse, or Sevilla, I think it's Sevilla, by Petiteknit. Sorry if the lighting just changed. It's like kind of a cloudy day here. But yeah, this is the Sevilla Blouse by Petiteknit. It is kind of like my summer sweater that I'm making, and I'm knitting it in this brown color that I'm obsessed with. Excuse me, Daddy, can I have this? Can I have my yarn? Oh, thank you. He's such a sweet boy. Oh, big sigh because I took his yarn away. I am knitting this in Sadnes Garn Lena and Tynn Lena. And these are both in the shade Acorn. So this is what I'm holding together. So this is definitely not the lightest weight project. This is knit up on 5mm needles. So definitely a quicker knit, but I have been kind of going fast on it for me. I've been pretty happy with my progress. Of course, there's hair all over it. But this is you knit this top down, and it's a boat neck construction. The neckline on this is already finished. That is the finishing for it. You pick up after, and then you just do a few rounds of stockinette and then bind off. But you start on the back for this. There's really not much shaping, like at all. You just knit the back panel, pick up for the front panel, you do a little bit of shaping, and then that's it. Stockinette in the round. I just finished this sleeve, and I did do a few more decreases than recommended. It only recommends very little. I didn't do very many. I think I did like 1 or 2 extra decreases. And then the pattern calls for a rib on the sleeves and the body. And I just kind of wanted like the rolled stockinette look to match the collar. So I decided that that's what I'm going to do for all the finishings, is just the rolled stockinette. I think that gives summer. Yeah, I'm loving this fabric. Lena and Tin Lena have the same composition. It is 53% cotton, 33% viscose, 14% linen. So, and you can machine wash this yarn, which is very exciting for a summer sweater. This is not going to be super practical in my climate here in New Jersey. It's just not. Maybe in like the evenings when we have cool days, but on these like 90 days when it's like 70s still in the evening and very, very humid, I just don't think I'm going to get much wear out of this. But I do go out to Washington State a lot in the summer where my family lives, and I think that this is going to be perfect for the evenings out there. And the mornings, it's quite cool out there still until, you know, usually until like July is when it starts to warm up. And even then in the mornings and evenings, it can be quite cool. So that is what I have in mind for this. And then also I think this will be a great transitional piece into fall. But it's just so cooling to touch. So I think that this will be like a perfect beachy kind of sweater. I'm imagining myself on a nice cool coast, you know, rocking this. Really enjoyable chill stockinette knit. I was concerned a little bit with my tension on this. You can see like certain rows have like a little bit of uneven tension, but I don't think it's consistent rowing out. Yeah, let me hold it closer maybe. This is honestly, some of the uneven is actually like after I've joined in the round, but I don't think there's like a big difference. Oops, wrong way. I don't think there's a big difference. I mean, you can certainly see certain rows and certain parts where my tension's not like great. But again, I don't think it's consistent rowing out. I do see parts where it's like, it looks like I was rowing out a little bit for like a little part of it. And then it's like, oh, maybe I fixed it. So overall, I'm pretty happy with the tension. I don't think looking at it from afar, it's like, holy cow, that person's pearls are really loose. Which I never think, but I always see people talking about rowing out, and I do notice when my tension is uneven. And it, you know, it's definitely not perfect. I don't think I have amazing tension. I'm still fairly a new knitter. I started last January, so I think I have a long way to go in the tension department. But overall, I'm pretty happy with how it's looking. I knit this sleeve on short circulars and it hurts my hand and I don't like it as much. For those of you who are continental short circular knitters, do you have any tips? Okay, Dallas is like done with me apparently. He keeps making noises, sorry. But for those of you who are continental short circular knitters, is there any way you hold your right hand so it doesn't hurt quite as bad? I've figured out that I kind of like grip the whole needle, I think, with my hand, and I use 5-inch tips normally. So not doing that, like having the littler ones, just makes my hand get fatigued a lot more quickly. So knitting this, while it didn't actually take me that long, I stopped like constantly because it was bothering me so much. Yeah, would love tips about that. The other interesting thing about this project is very exciting. I acquired a pair, forgive my try-on cords on it, or my, you know, like noodles. Let me take them off for this. I acquired a pair of the Quattro tips from ChowGoo. These are the 5mm or US 8. I mean, they fit on just the standard small cables. And I really like these. I wasn't sure initially, but I really am enjoying knitting with them. I find them pretty comfortable to hold, and I could see this being really, really useful, especially for the bigger needle sizes. Like my hands and stuff tend to hurt more with the bigger needle sizes. So I think, and these only go down to, I think 3.25 is the smallest size they make of these. Unfortunately, these tips are really expensive. I want to say they were like, the cheapest I think I could find a pair of these online is like $17. Which I feel like I bought the interchangeables set of ChowGoo, like all the needles, before all the tariffs and all that garbage started happening. So I think they were a lot cheaper then, but I think I paid $18 for this at my local yarn store, and I just really wanted to try them. And unfortunately, I do quite like them. Honey, can we just sit? Unfortunately, I really do like them. And that's not great news because I don't want to buy them. But they are really nice. If you've been considering using them, if you think you might enjoy having a little bit of a steadier grip maybe, because you know, with the angles on it, it doesn't slip around in my grip really at all. I mean, the other ones don't either. I love the regular ChowGoos. I think they're great. But I do really enjoy these. So if you're interested in them, I would say to give them a go for sure. And yeah, I've been knitting this whole thing on them. So I was curious if they would like help my tension be more even. Not sure, because I haven't knit anything in this plant-based yarn otherwise, but perhaps they have, because I think it is not bad overall. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say about my Sevilla Blouse. Oh, one other modification I did make is I knit the armhole, like the armhole depth, a little bit longer than it says in the pattern. I got to the length that it said to knit to in the pattern, and I was like, I feel like this is going to be up in there. I was just worried that it was going to be like really, really like up in my arm. And I have kind of like, you know, I have a little bit of something in my arm. So I didn't want that. So I knit it just like, I think 3/4 of an inch longer than it specifies. And then it doesn't have you add any underarm stitches. But I just added 4 on each side. I think I like that better. I mean, it's nothing, you know, nothing major, but it is like, you know, a little bit of a, let me see if I can show you. Like there's the underarm. I don't know that you're gonna be able to see, but I feel like it makes it just like a more gradual transition there at the underarm. And then when I picked up for the sleeves, I picked those up, and then somehow I think my gauge is once again a little bit bigger. But I really like the gauge that I've got. So I have enough, had okay sleeve count and all that sort of thing. So I did just decrease the body stitches, like after the biggest part of my bust, just to kind of decrease the body out a little bit there. And it was only 4 stitches on each side, so there's 2 rounds of decreases. And then I'm just gonna knit the rest straight and do the same finishing, which is just the rolled stockinette. So, okay, that's all for my whips. I have got some future plans and one acquisition. So let's talk about my big acquisition. I did buy this yarn last weekend when I cast on this project. I really knew I wanted to make this. I knew I wanted to make it in Sadnes Garn, Lena and Tynn held together. It was not cheap. This I have a lot of drop spell, which is very similar in composition and stuff. I don't know if it's quite as soft, but it's so much cheaper that I think it's like for a lot of things it's worth just using the bell. But I knew I wanted the Tynn held with the Lena, and so I thought it would be worth it. And I love this color so much. So I'm very happy with this purchase and how the Sevilla Blouse is going. My other acquisition is very not seasonal. I have, however, placed an order that's not yet here for some drop spell. So the drop spell, I'll just talk about it first, my plans with that. I'm going to make a sabai top with drop spell in I got like their sky blue color, and I'm going to duplicate stitch on a ladybug, and I'm going to wear that to the Noah Con concert at the end of the month. So I'm eagerly awaiting that package because I haven't even started that yet, and the concert is at the end of the month. So that I would probably do a project blog on my frenzy to knit that. I'm hoping the yarn comes before I leave on my trip on this Friday. Honey, he's gonna need some outside time shortly. But yeah, that's the plan with that, which I have purchased, just hasn't yet come. But an exciting yarn purchase I made in person here at a local yarn store that is a not seasonal appropriate purchase, but I'm very excited for, is all of this yarn. I'm going to show you the colors, and I want to see if you can, if anybody, before I say it, before I reveal what I'm making, if you can guess. This is Cascade Ecological wool. It is a bulky weight Peruvian Highland wool. And this is their undyed. So the Ecological wool is undyed. I got 3 skeins of this. This has 437 meters in it. And it smells nice and sheepy. Very squishy. I feel like it's quite soft in the ball. But that is my first purchase. To go with that, I bought the Eco Plus, which is just their dyed version of the same wool. It's a bulky, again, same exact meterage, Peruvian Highland wool, and in this beautiful orange color. Have you guessed yet? Next, I got, this is Plymouth Hardy Homestead, and this is Peruvian Highland wool as well, 100 grams, 123 yards. So I'm not sure if this looks similar. And this is just not as much because I don't need as much of this color. It's a black. And then I also got that same yarn in a gray, light gray. I'm hoping this is enough of this one. And then the last color I needed was red. But I was like, surely I have just a little bit of red in my stash. And I'm going to hold I think this is a sport weight double. It is a superwash, this has me slightly concerned, but it's Cascade 220 superwash. And this red color, I'm gonna hold double. If you haven't guessed yet, I am going to make the Fox cardigan from Project Hail Mary. And I'm so excited about it. I absolutely loved that book and that movie. I read the book last year, I believe, and I saw the movie and the sweater. I was like, I don't need to knit that. I don't need to knit that. I love that. I'm obsessed with it. I don't need to knit it. I'll forget about it. There's not been a day that's gone by that I haven't thought about it. And then I was at this yarn store and I saw this yarn and I was like, I know people have made it with this. And I was like, oh, this is really nice, actually. And I bought it. So this is going to be exciting for me because I've never knit intarsia. I've never seamed a whole garment. Like I've done some seaming, like Sailor Surplus has some seaming. I've knit some bottom up stuff. You've done some seaming, but I've never knit it all in panels like this is knit. And yeah, I'm very excited to make this. I think the finished garment is like so cool. I think it'll be really cool to wear as like a statement piece, cozy at home piece, like all sorts of things in colder weather. Will I get anywhere with this anytime soon? No. Will I start on it soon and then kind of slowly work on it? Ideally, yes. I do tend to kind of hyper focus on one project at a time, but I think that this would be cool to like kind of take my time with and work over the next few months so that when fall comes, I will have it ready to go. I also am super excited to use this yarn. I've not used this yarn before. This is very new to me. And yeah, two new yarns really, because I've got the Cascade and the Plymouth. So I'm quite excited for that project. I think I'm probably going to make one of the bigger sizes and just have like a really oversized, comfy cardigan. If anybody has any intarsia tips they recommend, please let me know. I'm going to obviously look up some videos and watch some tips and tricks before I get started, but I've never done intarsia. So, and also if you have any like pitting, flat, and seaming tips to make it look good. I don't think I said enough about the pattern. The pattern is the Wolf cardigan by Mary Maxim, which I purchased. And then a really kind Ravelry user whose name escapes me, I'll link it down below, has some charts that they've modified and made available. So I will be using the modified charts for the Fox. I believe Mary Maxim has a kit you can buy with modified charts, but you have to buy their yarn, which I didn't want to do. I think they only have acrylic as an option, and that's just not what I want to make it out of. So yeah, that is an exciting future plan, but I definitely need to cast on some tank tops. So I think my next order, as soon as I get that yarn, I will be casting on the Sabai top in the light blue, and then I will duplicate stitch also for the first time. I've never really duplicate stitched any pattern before, the ladybug. So that's my future plans. Yeah, that's all I think for today's episode. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Please consider subscribing, liking, and even hyping this video. That would help me out so much. And please leave a comment down below if you would consider making the Fox cardigan, or if I'm crazy for making this during summer. I'm not gonna lie, holding the very heavy yarn already made me feel a little warm, like I'm already hot just sitting here. But I think it'd be really cool to have for fall. So yeah, all right. Well, I hope y'all have a great rest of the day wherever you're at in the world, and I'll see you next time. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.